I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, what's up, folks? Yeah.
Sam Healey.
All right, Z just asked us to be nice to him on this list, so we
we're
will.
going to do the exact
Just
opposite.
once, please.
Okay, today we are continuing our series of looking back at 2015, and so we're gonna. Last year we did our top 10 gaming experiences, and I think like when we made that, I said I could have added more experiences to that, so I figured we'd do it per year.
Okay.
Our top 10 gaming experiences per year. If you played a game with us this year and you're not on here, that doesn't mean anything.
Hated playing with you, and next time, please attempt to be more interested.
That is not correct.
No, we just play a lot of games over the course of the year.
Yeah.
So many of mine came from conventions. Not all of them.
Almost all of mine are from conventions, yeah. But then again, most of the memorable gaming, it seems for me, comes from conventions. And I'm not saying good gaming or fun. I'm just it stands out.
Oh, so
All but my top 3 are from conventions.
So-
really? So the top 3 are not?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, well, I think I know why, but that's not a negative thing. I just think I know why. So are these all positive?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we should someday we'll do our top
Rail
10.
on some dude.
Yeah,
out
no,
from-
it's kind of rough, man.
No, but
So
someday.
there was this time, this guy, I hated playing that game.
No, we are going to do that. We're going
be
to
a top 10
do our
moment
top 10
Jason.
horror experiences. Our top 10 horror experiences. We'll use anonymous names and everything. Anyhow,
I
all
would
right,
just call everyone Jason, which would actually not be a code name. But
all right, let's get into the list. Here we go.
Number 10.
All right, my number 10 is a experience I was able to have at Gen Con one day when I was actually at one point, I think, scheduled to be at the booth, but this event ran over when it were a little bit longer than I thought it would. But it was actually a very fun time that I got to spend with 2 budding designers. I'm not going to give you their names because they know who they are. And I got to play their games and experience their passion for the game, and they just turned out to be, both of them, really nice guys. And we had a great time. They both met, and we all played one guy's game, and then the second guy showed me his 2-player game, and it's just been it was a really neat afternoon, sitting there, playing their game, talking with them, talking about how they could improve their game and or that type of thing. But then on top of that, I've recently at BGG Con got to see one of them, really get excited about the release of the game and how well it's doing apparently. So that was just a really cool experience for me to have, and I hope I can have more of them.
All right. My number 10, it was almost duplicated this past Tuesday, and that's way back in the spring. I played a game of Russian Railroads, and I played it against 3 people who were all much better players than me.
smarter is the word you're looking for.
Yes, as apparent by the end game scores. And again, this happened just recently, although
How many times did you get lapped in that game?
just wait.
All 3?
No, it was twice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I play a lot of games.
2 times.
I play a lot of games that are new games with people most of the time. And one of my strengths in gaming is I can pick up on a new game fairly quickly.
Right.
And even though we joke that I lose a lot, I don't lose as much as that. And if I do lose, it's because I'm trying weird strategies or seeing how the game works. I feel like I'm pretty good at games, but I did not feel good. However, there's something about when you're faced against people who are really good at a game, and I feel like I can play my absolute hardest and try just try. I just had a good time with it. Yes, I got destroyed. Yes, it was bad, but I liked it. So I can lose and make my top 10, but it was 10. It wasn't number 1.
Well, speaking of losing and having a good time and still enjoying it, this experience is actually of a game I'm not that fond of, but the experience was very memorable. This was at Essen, and I was playing Codenames one night late at night with Piero, who's an artist of board games, and a bunch of other French folks from different companies that happened to be there. And they were there. It was late at night. They were being rambunctious and loud, and they were playing Codenames, and so I joined them. They were very welcoming, great people. But it was very funny because we're playing Codenames in English /French. and everybody's being loud, and I'm like, half the time you're not sure what's going on, but everybody's laughing, having a great time, and being very warm and welcoming. And I got to hang out with Piero, who's a great guy, and the whole experience was fun. It was very memorable for me. I had a great time. Was very happy to be invited and be included in that group, and it was just funny. I mean. And they were like saying the stuff in French, and I was trying to like learn the names of the stuff in French. And they would ask me, "So how do you say that in English?" And I'd help them out, and I'd throw Spanish in there every now and then. We were having a fun, silly, over-the-top time, and I really enjoyed it. So my number 10 was playing Codenames with Piero and his friends.
And that's a game you're not even a huge fan of.
I'm not, right, but again, that just shows you that even a bad game.
Not a bad game.
Again, even a not great game.
It's a bad game.
Can be fun if you play with the right people. Especially a party game. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
You have a party game, even if it's not a good game, if you play with fun folks or good friends, you'll have a good time.
Well, yeah, no, I definitely believe that.
Number 9.
Okay, my number 9 happened at Grand Con this year, and that was a game of Cosmic Encounter. Now, most games of Cosmic Encounter are pretty fun, but this is probably the most memorable one I played this year of this game. I remember because I was teaching, and I usually use my story of how I betrayed my wife 15 years ago, whatever it was, when we played this game. And then we played, and a guy betrayed me on the very first time we did anything.
Wow.
Which is not a good time to betray someone because you still have a good chunk of the game left. And I believe the game ended in a 5-way win with 2 losers, one of those being me.
Nice.
So
his strategy worked.
So that's the second game that I lost, but it was fun. It was just entertaining.
The story of like, all these are going to be ways Tom got whooped. In games.
Not all of them, but a lot of them. But anyway, I just had a really good time doing that. It was a lot of fun. There's some of the people were new. Some people had played before. Cosmic just always seems to bring out the best and worst in everybody, and I just get a kick out of it.
Awesome. All right, my number 9 is a game session I had when we were at West Texas, Sam. The West Texas, what's the whole name of the convention?
West Texas Tabletop Con.
That's it. We were there, and I brought a little game with me called Vampire Radar, and I set it up, and I got to play with Rebecca and with Hunter, who are now actually contributors on Blender, and that's where I met.
That's how you too can be a contributor.
Right, just play a game with me and make it memorable. And it was a great session. I was playing the vampire, hiding my movement, and we were just having a blast playing this game. Everybody was laughing. Everybody's discussions were amazing. And I was just listening to them, trying to figure out where I was, but we were having a jovial time as well. Great experience playing the game. It's a game I really like. That was my first play of it, and it made an awesome impression. After that, I played some more and still enjoyed the game, so it wasn't just an experience thing, but they certainly made it a great time. So Hunter and Rebecca playing Vampire Radar with me at the West Texas Con. That's my number 9.
Cool. My number 9 is also a game experience at a con. This time, though, it was at Dice Tower Con, and it was the team game of Cyclades with Will Baker and company. And
I was near that table.
That was a really fun time. First of all, it was the first time I'd ever played that game in a team aspect, and that was a very interesting experience. Having another player that you can kind of rely upon. They have your back. You have their back, and you're all on the same team. We didn't end up winning. We ultimately lost, but it was a very close game to where we would have won on the next turn if the people that did win on the present turn didn't do what they did. So
did you get that?
I got it.
It was really, really close. I mean, it was going to be winning the game was going to be the first thing that we did on the following turn, but they beat us to it. So it was a really cool game.
So you lost.
Very memorable experience. Yes, Zee, we lost. When you play games that require more than a half an hour of thought,
you lose more?
You lose sometimes, yeah. Anyway,
I think
it was just a really great time. Everybody in the game was very engaged in the game and with each other, and there was a lot of interaction, and we just had a great time at it. So my number 9 is playing Cyclades team style, at Dice Tower Con.
And I think that play also elevated it even
did.
higher on your favorites list.
It did.
Cool.
Number 8.
All right, my number 8 is from BGG Con this year, and it was my first time at BGG Con. I've never been there before, and they have this ridiculous event they run, which is called Battling Tops. Battling Tops is a game, rather, and they've kind of made this ridiculous endeavor around it in which everybody gets dressed up and they go and play a Battling Tops tournament. So, spinning tops as a tournament with a bunch of grown men and women dressed in ridiculous outfits, and it was nothing if not memorable. I'd never done it before, but I jumped into it, both feet, and got dressed up and made it silly and loud and ridiculous, and we had a great time. I enjoyed it. It's sort of what it sounds like it's going to be, Battling Tops with a bunch of people being goofy, but surrounded by good friends and everybody's there for the same reason. It's a great time, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid, if bizarre, experience. So Battling Tops was my number 8 at BGG Con.
Just think professional wrestling just like 1,000 times goofier.
Right, it's people are wearing luchador masks and things, and again, we had a good time with that.
That made my short list, but just didn't squeak in on the 10.
Cool.
I wasn't there. All right.
Yeah.
Lies. All right, my number 8 is kind of a catch-all, and that is experiencing BGG Con for the first time, but with the caveat being, it's kind of a shoe-in.
Oh, my next one's just gaming over the course of the year.
No,
Yeah,
no. The
that's from
shoe-in
here on
here
out.
is going. One afternoon, Zee and Jason and I were able to go shooting with Brian Pope. So it's a gaming-related experience because the only reason we were in Dallas was for the GameCon.
Right.
But we took a break that afternoon and we went shooting with Brian Pope. And
Well, can I start including restaurants on mine then?
Sure, you usually do anyway, just in the side notes. So it was a game of sorts. I mean, you're hitting a target. We went in. We competed with one another.
We did.
So I'm.
Well, who won that competition?
I
Sam
think.
did.
No,
Yeah, you did.
I think you won.
I think you won.
You did better shooting.
Oh, you go first, Alvin. No, you.
You did better shooting the one-handed. You didn't shoot the whole revolver.
I'm a gangster, is why.
I still have a blood blister from it, so I've got a memento from shooting that stinking hand cannon that he brought with it. Anyway, it was just a really fun time. We had a great time. It was a great time watching Jason shoot a gun that was about as big as he was. And he looked like a dwarf a little bit because he almost jumped back a little bit, if you remember.
He's a tiny dude.
Anyway, it was just a really fun experience. Not necessarily a gaming experience, but it was during a gaming event. So, there you have it. Give me junk about it. I don't care.
All right. My number 8 is very similar to Zee's. One of his that he did, and that's Codenames at the Gathering of Friends, where I played with a bunch of French folk.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
Played it with many of the guys from Yellow, Stefan and crew from Yellow, and some of the guys from Snakes and Lattes in Canada. And just, again, we found that the American and French minds don't necessarily mesh very well.
Yeah.
But it makes for hilarious time, just guessing and
So
stuff.
what I'm pulling away from this is that in order to enjoy Codenames, you have to play it with French people.
Oh, I like the game anyway. I think Codenames is a great party game.
Okay.
I'm going to play with my parents in Spanish, but I'll just make up what the words mean as I go along. I'll be like, oh, yeah, that word in Spanish means this other thing. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, all right. So anyhow,
Explode.
my number 8, Codenames, with some folks this April.
Number 7.
Anyway, speaking of my parents and playing games with my parents, my number 7 is actually a game I played with my mom and dad, and they had a blast. They are not normally gamers. They don't really gravitate towards games. But I got to play Unusual Suspects with them, and they had a blast. They took to it like a duck to water, and the game is very rules light, very simple to play. And as long as basically the game is in English technically, because you have to flip a card and read a sentence, a question, but I could just translate that for them because they only speak Spanish, and they were enjoying it. They were loving it. They were playing together as a team. Eventually, they started being the ones that gave out the clues for you to figure out this little whodunit that's going on. The game is very politically incorrect, but it's very tongue-in-cheek also. And we just had a blast, and we played it several games in a row that night we played. Very memorable time, something that does not happen very often for me. So my number 7 is playing Unusual Suspects with the folks and having a great night with it.
My number 7 is playing a game with these guys.
Aww.
And I think Jason was in on this one too.
Never mind.
No. This was I think we played this one live, and that was Small World Deluxe.
Oh.
That came in this year, and that was just a really good game. We got it all set up. The first time playing with these pieces, it was just really cool, and we already all like Small World.
Right.
So that was a good experience there, just playing with the pieces. It's fun sometimes to play with fancy stuff, I guess. We play a lot of games where we're like pushing around almost paper, or the cards.
right.
To play a game sometimes, now we didn't keep the game, it's at the Dice Tower convention, but just to play that game a few times and shake the money out, and like, yeah, look at that, that's great. So several good playings of that game. I still remember those. That's Small World Deluxe.
Cool. My number, what is it, 7s? We're on 7s?
Yep.
Was one time we played a game, and then in the middle of it went to Disney World.
I was having this amazing steak,
So you
right?
stretched on that one. That didn't flow out very well. That was kind of a...
Hard 8 is coming up for me, so.
It is? Okay, that's good. I'll join you with that. All right, my number 7 is a game that I played from Gen Con, and it was a game that I was having a lot of difficulty with the actual rule book, because the rule book is, quite frankly, not written very well. And that is Heroes of Normandy at Gen Con with the designer, Clem, and had a great time. We didn't really talk a lot because his English isn't that great. It's good enough to where we were able to
It's the
communicate.
third game in ours where we play with someone from France.
Yeah, I know. It's
But
funny, huh? It's a thing.
Well, I mean, it's yellow, so it's
No, I'll tell you, I mean, with geography-wise, I find people from France a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I haven't.
Because they really get into the games.
Okay.
Did he?
Yes, he did. I mean, we were going back and forth and rolling and guffawing and just really having a good time, pushing each other to the limit. He was, we were both trying wacky stuff. He kept chucking grenades into the building that
You told me
my guys
about
were
this.
in.
I know you had a good time because as soon as you came back, you
really
started telling
fun.
us the story about
Yeah.
like him just sitting outside and chucking grenades in the window. You know what I mean?
And he had guys in there, and I had guys in there, and he was like, "I don't care. I just want you out," So it was a really fun
That's
time.
great.
I had a blast with Clem, so that definitely made my list, number 7.
Number 6.
My number 6 is not technically a board game,
Here we go, baby. Yes.
but it is a game in a sense. I'm
Who
gonna say
can eat the most meat? That's the game.
it was the opening.
Texas.
It was the opening game show at Dice Tower Con, which comes from board games and things. We did a lot of different game shows. We did some wits and wagers and stuff, but the opening board game night has not always gone over as smoothly in previous years because I've tried stupid stuff every time, and the stupid stuff doesn't always work. But this time it really went well. And I still remember the moment we barbecue party where you're trying to pull the things off, and the whole room is super quiet as a guy is trying to pick up with this kids game.
Yes.
That was just hilarious. Or Loopy Gluey, everybody really, the whole crowd, we had like over 100 people there, got into it. It was a great way to start the convention, so
That's awesome.
I really had a good time with that one.
It was fun.
Cool. Is that me? That's you,
No,
Sam.
it's you, Sam.
My number 6 is also at Dice Tower Con, and this time though it was having the Great War explained to me by Richard Borg himself.
I'm sensing a trend here. You're a real sucker for game designers
Well,
playing games with you.
When it's their game,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
right there with you,
and
man. That's cool. It's just
I get
cool.
to you have the chance to not just play the game, but kind of pick their brain as well. And I didn't really necessarily go into it with this idea, but it just sometimes it pops up where you can say, well, what was your thought process behind doing that? Mm-hmm. Or, why did you choose to do it this way instead of that way? And it's just a really awesome opportunity to kind of pick their brain a little bit. And it just so turns out that a lot of these designers are great gamers.
Right.
You enjoy playing games with them. They're very personable people. And that's very true of Richard Borg. He's very personable, very nice guy. When he explains the game, he doesn't just explain the mechanics. He explains, and this we decided to do it this way because in history and all this other kind of stuff. So it was a really neat experience. Have him explain that new World War I version of the Command and Color system, the Great War, and we'll never forget it.
Very nice. All right, my number 6 was not a Dice Tower Con. This was in Vegas, actually, for the Gamma Trade Show, which happened earlier in the year. And it's not technically a board gaming story either. This was my 15 minutes of gambling fame, if you would, because I don't gamble. I've never gambled before. But when we were there, one of the nights, it was an off night, we were walking around, and it was Tom and myself and Eric Summerer. And Eric gambles a little bit, and Tom not at all. And I had never done it before, but I was curious. I was there. I wanted to try it out. So I had Eric explain to me how this thing works. And so we went and got a card, and it was like $20 on it. And I put the card in this machine, and I pull the lever, and the lights are flashing, and noises are going off, and I have no idea what's happening. And I lost 50 cents or something. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, fine. Woo! And the lights are going, and then something happened, where the amount of money starts going up. And it's like $25. And it just, just keeps going. And then 30. And then 35. And then 40. It went up to like $42. And I'm like, wait, I have $42 and put 20 in? I'm cashing out, baby. And so that was it. I played for about 10 minutes. And Eric, who had been at it for a bit,
and had taken a long time to explain very carefully because these machines are complicated and he's like, this is how this works, and he's telling you, and sometimes you'll lose, but you go up again. And he had been losing like all day, like small amounts, but losing.
Right. And then so I won, I was up, and I cashed out, and he was just kind of like, I'm like, what do I do now? How do I get my money back? He's like, all right, you go over here, come on. He walked me over there, put in the card, I got the money, but he was just sort of like, I just explained all this stuff and you just won and walked away. So he's great, though. I had a great time spending time with Eric, who I don't get to see very often, but that story is again, not necessarily board gaming, but it stands out in my mind as just a really funny night we had.
Well, if you listen to our podcast, Eric is usually very, calm and even-keeled about these things. So he's like, well, that's good, You could keep playing. Maybe you'll win more. And he's like, I'm out.
I'm out, baby. I got money back. What? So that was my number 6, my 15 minutes of gambling fame there with Eric and Tom in Vegas.
Number 5.
My number 5 follows the theme that I have already had. It's playing a game with yet another designer, and this time Zee and I were able to play Raptor with Bruno Catala at the Yellow Gaming Party. Asmodee Gaming Party, because we went to another...
Yeah, there was multiple parties.
There's a lot of them.
Sorry, they are all kind of blurred together. But anyway, we were able to play Raptor against each other, with Bruno helping Zee.
Kind of, because I was not getting it.
No, not kind of. He was helping you. And I
wasn't getting it.
And I still whooped both of you. And that's why it's memorable, baby. Because I beat the designer helping Zee at his own game.
It's possible the designer would have beat you had he not been crippled by Zee.
Yeah, been hindered by me, right. Had the puppet in the middle going, what do I do?
I'm very sure that probably would have happened, but it was...
Were you the dinosaurs or the humans?
I think I was the dinosaurs.
I think so too, yes.
Yeah, I picked the Raptors.
Yes.
So it was just a great time.
Again, cool.
Able to listen to him give Zee strategy, that's gold.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, listening to a designer give you strategy on the game that he designed, that's just gold. So that kind of stuff, I love that. So being able to play Raptor against Zee at Gen Con with Bruno Cathala and whooping them both.
Yeah, that was definitely on my short list. That would have been like my 11 or 12
Yeah.
because it was a great moment.
Yep.
Is it me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my number 5 is actually very similar to Sam's moment. It was playing a game with a designer and Sam at Dice Tower Con, though, and this was Blood Rage that we got to play. I got to play with Sam. I got to play with Eric Lang, and there were some other folks there. I can't remember right now who.
Jason.
Jason, okay, was there.
And he got whooped.
And it was just an amazing, and it was an amazing time. Eric is very funny explaining his own game, so he has he has a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah.
And the game, of course, is a superb design. And same thing you were just talking about with winning at Raptor. I was actually able to squeak out a win against Eric's strategy that was really strong, and he was right on my heels. But at the end there, I was able to squeak out a win, and that was just very satisfying. And the game was just a blast to play. We sat there at the table, and the whole convention, even though it was buzzing all around us, it felt like there was nobody there for that hour and a half. We were just focused, having a great time, trash talking. Awesome time. Playing Blood Rage with Sam and Eric Lang at Dice Tower Con. Yeah. That's my number 5 moment of this year.
So your number 5 moment was about beating him, and his number 5 was about beating you.
Yep.
All right.
And Eric Lang and Bruno Cathala,
yeah. So I beat you and your favorite designer. Is that how that worked there?
Yeah.
All right. My number 5 is not necessarily about that. My number 5 is Flick 'em Up. Now, there was actually 2 experiences. One was at Gen Con, where I did a duel against a guy from Pretzel Games, where we got the big giant set. We're just shooting at each other.
Hats and stuff?
Yeah, we put on the cowboy hats. Okay, but that was just like a quick moment. But the game was when we did the charity thing here. If you remember, we moved the table out. Rich Summer was here. We had all the stuff. It was just really fun because everybody was just laughing, and there was some amazingly bad shots and also some amazingly like, oh, I can't believe you did that. I know you're not as big a fan of the game as I am, but I really liked that experience. It was just a lot of fun and felt very. We put on some Western music, and people were getting into it.
No, that was a good moment. Again, shortlisted for me.
What was it?
Playing with Rich Summer was very, very fun. I got to meet him. I hadn't met him before, and everybody was just really fun to be around. The game, you're right. I did not have as good a time playing that game, but it was a fun moment.
Yeah.
So let's flick them up.
Number 4.
All right, my number 4 is
Against a designer at a convention.
yes, playing Blood Rage for the first time at Dice Tower Con with Eric, Zee, and Jason, and it is very true. Eric loves to trash talk. Maybe it's just to us. Maybe it's not though.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Because I think he does it to a lot of different people.
Right.
Where he just, he'll trash you and sit back and just go, ha, 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 or...
Yeah,
Yeah.
He just loves to trash people at his own game. And to watch him not really get flustered or anything like that, but just like, hey, I'm not winning here. I'm not doing too well. But then the cream on the whatever, the absolute crown of this was that we almost all lapped Jason.
Yes, that's right.
He was like half the victory track behind the rest of us. I was in 3rd place. So,
and this rarely happens. So
he always wins
rarely
most games. Right.
Jason is the one that's usually up at the top of the pack, not way, way, way back. So it was just a really memorable experience. Again, playing with the designer, his game. It's just a great opportunity to learn more about that person and more about the game itself.
Cool.
My number 4 is with my kids. This is the only one actually on the list, but I could put a lot of gaming that I do with my kids. Gaming with the kids is fun. I in my head, and actually not just in my head, we have our kids divided into two groups. We have the older kids and the younger kids. But I always forget the younger kids are at the age the older kids were, 5 years ago. But you forget that sometimes. I'm used to playing anything on the shelves behind me with Melody or whatever. But I got this new game from a Game Right, Outfoxed, which is a cooperative deduction game, and played it with my two youngest girls, Violet and Ruby. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, oh, we need to roll the dice. And just their idea of strategy and talking about things. I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. All my kids can game now. Well, except for Jimmy. But he'll get there. And it was just
dice. He sure knows how to roll them dice.
Yeah.
Well, I taught him to do that before I taught him to walk. Priorities. But it was just a really good moment to watch them. They wanted to play it again immediately. They went and taught it to their other sisters, and I like that. Also a great game that's Outfoxed.
Very nice. My number 4 is also from BGG Con. Again, one of the things I love about these conventions is running into people I haven't seen in a while. And one of the games I got to play there was Watson and Holmes, and I got to play with Suzanne, and I got to play with Dan King. And again, both of them people you're probably familiar with if you're familiar with us. Suzanne is a contributor both to Breakfast and Blender, and just an amazing woman. And Dan is.
But she's very different in person, I think. And on the show, she's very mild-mannered and nice. Yeah, but in gaming, she's right down there. Let's do it.
Yeah, she's intense, and she loves to trash talk also, and she doesn't hold back. She's a blast to play with. But this game is not a game that was particularly conducive to that, but I had a great time playing it. Watson and Holmes, again, a deduction game in which you are, going to different places, taking notes. It's sort of like, you're investigating a case, trying to solve it. And we just had a blast. We actually went to one of the side rooms that was a little quieter. There were a few folks in there playing, but the room is much more still. And
they chased everyone else out.
And really delved into this game. No, it's a quiet game, right? So we delved into this game and just had a blast with it. I really enjoyed it. I can't speak for them, but I was very happy to be there with them playing that game. So that's Watson and Holmes with Suze and Dan at BGG Con, my number 4.
Number 3.
I'm thinking at this point there may be some massive amount of crossover on the top 3. It's possible. Well, my 3 is actually a crossover with them, but earlier I wasn't in their game. But my number 3 is Blood Rage at Dice Arcana with Eric Lang, but I played with Eric Summer and Matt Hosey as the other people. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun.
You played before we did.
I did.
The day before we did, or something like that, right?
And it was just so much fun. I mean, Eric won, and Eric's normally like Eric Summer. He's normally the low key Euro game guy, and he was just like smashing. And I was like, how can I beat him? And I couldn't apparently. And one thing I like about Eric Lang is he'll teach you a game, and you're learning, but he will pull no punches.
Right.
He will like, oh, you didn't know this card existed? Then he'll just go with the tear. Now you know. So, lots of fun. It was a really great game, and I've played several times since then, but that was probably the best time I played it was that first time. But it was all good, and that's Blood Rage.
Cool. Is that me?
It is.
All right. My number 3 is Sam Healey style here, playing a game with the designer. And this was at Gen Con this year. I got to one of the mornings before we really got going for the day. I was taken over to by Bruno Catala to a little room they had, and I got to play Seven Wonders Duel with him. This was just before the game was out, by a few weeks, I think. So I got to sit down with him in a room just with Bruno, and he taught me the game, and we played the game. The game is an amazing game, by the way. If you haven't played it, look into it. But learning it, and I beat him at the game, was just fun. And he's a great guy. He's got that side of him that's a little bit like Eric Lang, where he can be very jovial and funny, but he is a deep thinking guy. You know what I mean? He is strategy minded through and through. So he'll take his moment to sit back, and you can tell that the gears are spinning. He's setting you up. But still, I was able to squeak out a win there because he was going for one of the side strategies, I think military, and I was able to prevent. I was able to prevent it enough and win by points at the end. An amazing experience, very memorable for me. I just had a blast, and Bruno's a great guy. So my number 3 was playing Seven Wonders Duel with Bruno Catala at Gen Con.
Okay. My top three, I already said this, they're not convention related.
Right.
They're not convention related. This one has to do with a show that I took over when I came on full time with the Dice Tower, and that's the Dice Steeple. And that has just been an amazing experience, and it's been a monthly experience because we do it once a month, and every single time we record one of these shows, it's a blast. This most recent one was just me and him, and we still had a great time talking with each other. But other than that, we've had Bruno Faduti, we've had a lot of other people that are in the hobby, not really the industry, talking about how they're using board games in their life and that type of stuff. And it's just been a really fun experience, each one of those discussions that we've had. So it made my top three.
Oh, that is the three. Okay. I thought that was leading up to something.
No, that's three.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the three. Just restarting the Dice Steeple with Dana King. I've had a blast, and I hope we can continue to do that for a while.
Cool. All right.
Number 2.
All right, so here we go with the crossovers, folks.
Mine is not on yours.
I'm pretty sure we are sharing 1 and 2 here, guys.
Maybe. I feel like you and me are sharing 1 and 2. I don't know about Sam.
I know.
Oh, no, you're not. You're
I know
not,
for
right.
sure.
I know you're not sharing one of these two, correct.
Right.
Anyway, my number 2 is playing time stories with these gentlemen right here. Especially, well, we're right now, as of recording this, we are working through the second case, the Marcy case. We haven't finished it. I forgot everything we did so
I wouldn't
far.
really call it work because we haven't been working at it for a while.
Yeah,
We've forgotten almost everything.
Right, so we're going to restart that one.
This actually gives me hope to play these again because I'm like, if after 2 weeks I can't remember that
after
much.
a year, we're like, what?
What's going to happen is as soon as we pull everything out,
We'll remember,
our
right?
memories
Oh,
are gonna
right,
jog
right.
and
Because of the
it's
art.
gonna come back.
Okay, anyhow.
But playing time stories, the included one, which is called Asylum, right?
Yes.
Playing through that bad boy with these guys was unbelievably fun. I mean, I had a blast doing that. Every card reveal is an emotional roller coaster. Seeing creepy pictures, just finding stuff out, solving puzzles. Unbelievably engaging. Absolutely one of the most engaging games I've ever played, never mind this year. So I knew it had to be on the list. That's number 2 for me, playing time stories, Asylum.
I'm surprised. Sam.
Yes, right.
All right, my number 2 is actually kind of led into by my number 3. The number 3 was being able to do the Dice Tower after I came on full time, and my number 2 experience of this year has been coming on full time for the Dice Tower.
I just lost the Christmas turkey. God, no, Sammy, no. A quick last minute change, brother. It's my number 1.
Sorry, sir.
And this is why this is my number 2, because I just enjoy doing this for a living. It was a difficult step for me to take because I've been a teacher for 12, almost 13 years at this point. And when you've been in a profession that long, and I know that's not incredibly long, just over a decade, that's not a whole lot. There's people that have been teaching for 3 decades.
And I salute you all.
So, yes, so do I. So, it was still a difficult step, and I'm very glad to have been able to do it, and I hope that we can continue to do that. So that's my number 2, coming on full-time in the Dice.
Well, that got you at least a point towards doing that in the future. All right, my number 2, which I'm sure is on no one else's list, is our 17 game playthrough of Pandemic Legacy, which, yes, is 17 different games, but is essentially just one really long game. And I wonder how it would have felt if we played it out slower, like a game a week or so, but I didn't mind marathoning it. It was really fun, and such great moments. There's a few moments over the course that just, I'll never forget when something happened. We were like, oh, and playing with Jason was hilarious because he got so excited about every new thing that happened. That excitement was contagious.
You get to draw 2 cards.
And we would be laughing at him about his excitement, but at the same time, I was excited too. And I'd rather any old day play with someone like that than someone who's like, Oh, that's dumb. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That whole cynical person. Rather play with someone who's super excited. And it was fun. And we won, which was good. It was a good ending. I like that. So it was just a great time. Pandemic Legacy.
And finally, number 1.
All right, here we go. I feel a 20.
You felt wrong.
Oh, 13 beats yours.
17, baby.
15.
Maybe I should go first since I'm different.
We'll just go down. How about that? I'll
All
go
right.
first.
What could Z's be?
Okay, my number 1 is actually very similar to Sam's. It's this guy right here.
Is it really? No, that's a lie. You forgot to put that on your list.
I need to do something to save myself. And so, just Tom Vasel, basically, is my number 1. He is quite possibly the greatest human that lives or has ever lived, except maybe George Washington. So, Tom Vasel is my number.
Why George Washington?
Anyway, it's the first name that came to mind.
Never mind.
All right, my number 1 is what Tom just said, Pandemic Legacy. But actually, my experience is I kind of combine two things in one here because I play Pandemic Legacy with these guys, shotgunning the whole way through it, like we did, just boom, 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 and knocked out the 17 games in a very short time. And then I got another copy of the game and played with my girlfriend through the whole campaign again at a more leisurely pace. So I was able to have both experiences. Mm-hmm. And I'll agree that it might not have been 1 and might have been 2, Time Stories being 1, if I had not played through it again. Because shotgunning it like we did definitely robs you of a little bit of that like stewing time between games where you're thinking about it going, man, that was fun, yeah.
Would you compare it to kind of like a TV show where you watch, like you binge watch the whole thing? Or when you watch each week an episode and you're sitting around wondering what's going to happen next week?
I have the opposite effect when it comes to TV watching. I like to binge watch. I think if you flip-flop that analogy, then yes. To me, this felt like, oh, I have to wait around on TV. I don't like that. Whereas,
But you do like it in a game.
But I do like it in a game, right? And just like having some time between the games to think about it, to wonder what you're going to do next time. And yes, I'd played through it already, so I knew it was coming up. But still, not blowing through it so quickly was a nice speed to the game. It was very episodic, and it enhanced that feeling, which is not normal for a board game, right? So my number 1 was playing Pandemic Legacy with these guys, and then playing through it again to completion with my girlfriend. The best gaming happening this whole year was that. Number 1.
Well, then I'm flip-flopping with you because my number 1 is Time Stories.
Right.
Now, I like both ones. I'm having a lot of fun with the Marcy case for very different reasons than the first one. But I think the first one would be my favorite just of the two right now because of just the solving aspect. And if you watch our live playthroughs, there's this one moment where we solved a difficult puzzle, and it was just like, yes!
Yeah,
I was so happy and felt so proud of ourselves for figuring it out. Yeah. You know, and I was like getting worried, like, oh, we're going to be here forever. And then watching other people, when we went to BGG Con, I got to watch people play it, and I'm sitting there like, yeah, you guys don't know what to do. But we did. But I mean, it was hard for us too. But it just, there's some really great moments. The game doesn't pull punches. Mm-mm. You know, it's like, you just wasted so much time doing that thing you thought was worth it. Did that in the Marcy case too. You're like, hey, did you make the choice? It seemed like a good choice. It's not.
Yeah.
And I love every time they do that. Although we're like, oh no, but it's fun. Great experience for me. Time Stories.
Cool. Yeah. My number 1 is gaming related, but it's in a number of different ways gaming related, and that is being able to meet a whole bunch of really cool people at all the different cons that I went to.
This is like the nicest list of all of ours.
I know.
I got to meet Kevin, the guy, the sheriff, and got to spend a lot of time with him actually at BGG Con. And he's just a really great guy to game with and to talk to and that type of thing.
I will beat you at Kemet.
Chaz is always a fun person to be around. and to play games with. And I got to teach Suzanne Heroes of Normandy, and you're very right. She loves to trash talk.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when she beats you, and she does it in a very subtle way. Oh, did I just win? Yes, you did. Oh, well, that kind of thing. Let's see, John Carter. I was able to meet John Carter. That was a really cool thing. He's a guy that works for Games Workshop over in England, so I got to meet him. Got to meet Kevin Wilson at BGG Con, who is much different than I expected him to be in a good way. And then just listening, all the listeners, all the watchers, all the fans that come up and say hi and give us a little bit of encouragement. It's just a really cool thing, and it's very memorable. You might think that you're bothering us, but as far as I'm concerned, I can't speak for these two. You're not bothering us.
Well, you're bothering Zee, but
it's very encouraging when you come up and say hi and tell us how much you enjoy what we do. So, thank you.
And don't be timid. There's always people like, I was too shy to come say hi to you.
Right, yeah.
We're shy to say hi back. Okay,
Exactly.
We're not, but still.
I just feel like a jerk with my top 10 list. It's all about all these great moments I had and all this stuff I did. And yours is like, everybody I met, nice people. Tom.
Peace on earth, goodwill to men.
I'm like, oh, I just feel all my things are like just crushing people at games.
All right, folks, what are your best experiences of the year? Tell us in the comments. Hopefully, maybe some of you will put the same ones we had because you were in those games. I hope. That'd be fun. Anyway, until next time, until next year. Well, actually, no. We'll come back next week and find out more what we think about 2015. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel.
Zee Garcia, thank you, everybody.
Sam Healey. On the flip side, y'all.